Regional Victoria is defined by quiet farmland and tight-knit communities. It is a place built on routine and neighborly trust. On a Saturday afternoon in July 2023, Erin Patterson invited her former in-laws and a local pastor for lunch. She served a classic, sophisticated dish, beef Wellington, wrapped in pastry and layered with mushroom paste. Within hours, all 4 guests suffered explosive vomiting and severe abdominal pain. Ambulances rushed them to the hospital as their organs began shutting down. 4 healthy adults experiencing simultaneous catastrophic physical collapse ruled out routine bacterial food poisoning. Doctors were looking at a highly lethal biological agent. Tests pointed to the death cap mushroom. Despite its innocuous appearance, it ranks among the deadliest fungi on Earth. This timeline illustrates how the death cap operates. Victims suffer acute sickness, followed by a sudden period where symptoms vanish. This deceptive plateau is a biological trap. By the time victims return to the hospital, their internal organs are already destroyed. 3 of the guests died. 1 survived on life support. Yet Erin Patterson, who prepared and consumed the meal, showed no symptoms at all. Investigators had to determine if a deadly mistake happened in the kitchen or if these deaths were the result of a deliberate plan. As the victims' conditions deteriorated, police isolated the house and began scrutinizing the host. Patterson's explanation for her survival changed. She initially claimed she felt unwell, then later stated she had intentionally scraped the mushroom paste off her portion of the beef Wellington. This diagram reflects the table setting found by investigators. The guests received their portions on matching gray plates, while Erin ate from a distinct orange one. This separation suggests the lethal elements of the meal were isolated before the food ever left the kitchen. These inconsistencies forced detectives to look past kitchen errors and hunt for concrete, physical evidence of premeditation. Patterson claimed she purchased dried mushrooms from a local Asian grocery store, but a check of nearby businesses yielded absolutely no proof of purchase. Digital forensic teams then examined her devices. They uncovered search history explicitly regarding the toxicity of wild mushrooms. Shortly after the fatal lunch, Patterson took her food dehydrator and discarded it at a local waste tip. Police eventually recovered the appliance. Forensic testing found traces inside the machine consistent with the poisonous fungi served at the lunch. The disposal of this equipment changed the nature of the investigation. For police, it was the moment the case moved from suspicious accident to provable murder. Witnesses described the lunch conversation as emotional but largely normal. It raises a question of how a host could sit through a shared meal while knowing the food was lethal. This behavior is visualized here as high compartmentalization. It is the ability to maintain a social mask and carry out everyday conversation while keeping violent intent entirely isolated. To understand the motive, investigators looked at the tensions surrounding Erin's estranged husband. Prosecutors posited her resentment was diverted away from him and toward her parents. This redirected hostility made them symbolic targets to inflict damage from a distance. This framework suggests the poisoning was an exercise in control, using the victim's own trust to deliver a lethal blow without a direct confrontation. The trial at the Supreme Court captivated Australia, drawing daily, intense media scrutiny. The prosecution presented a web of evidence built on the shifting stories, the search history, and the recovery of the discarded dehydrator. Pastor Ian Wilkinson, the sole survivor of the lunch, provided a living refutation of the idea that the poisonings were an unavoidable accident. The jury returned a verdict of guilty on 3 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. Erin Patterson was sentenced to life in prison. The verdict confirmed that the inconsistencies in her story weren't symptoms of panic. They were the layers of a calculated plan. This case commands global attention because it strikes at a vulnerability everyone shares. A shared meal is a symbol of hospitality and safety. You do not expect to defend yourself at a family dining table. The weapon used in this house was invisible, hidden inside the layers of a family meal. There was no struggle or physical force. This specific horror relies entirely on the victim's faith in the host. There is no defense against a threat you have been invited to trust. 3 people died believing they were simply sharing lunch with family. It serves as a reminder that danger doesn't always hide in the shadows. Sometimes it invites you to dinner.